Hey, what is Alex from Radd? We're here today joined by Ben from XM Studios. We're just going to do a little video about materials used in statues and sort of differences with them and costs involved. Keep watching. All right, so then what we do is you were talking a bit about some of the materials used. So do you want to talk about the different processes and maybe costings involved, if you can, about the different materials used in the statues? So we have the first two, which are very similar, but during the differences are cold cast porcelain, which you used to say were made by, and now it's polystone. So what?
Basically, they are the same term, right? Chemical term is the same. Only that the metal powder that we use are different, right? Whether you use grade A material powder, grade B powder, it's still a resin. Only for XM we choose to use different type of powder so that it give you a smoother effect, and the paint can be absorbed better, right? So collectors have been collecting our statue for the past 10 years, right? Basically, we haven't changed any of the material we use. Is still the same. In fact, we are trying to affect it by using better materials now. So that's what the art team and the production team has been looking to it this past few years.
Because I do think there is kind of like, as I said before, there's like a stigma attached to certain materials, and then there's also like a premium sound attached to others, like porcelain. Cold cast porcelain sounds like a premium, and then the next one, which we're going to move on to, is PVC, and people have this stigma that it's a cheap thing. It's
They are just chemical name, right? So because PVC material being used to make mass toys, right? And to connectors that connect high-end luxury stuff, they may feel that mass toys are low end, but they have to understand it's not about because the materials in the mass toy with PVC, and PVC is low grade. No, it's the material that people use, right? So if I were to use PVC on a high grade collectibles, which still give you the same or even better quality in terms of feel and design, then what does PVC means? Does PVC means is better, right? So do not be no puzzle about the name, different material people use. Of course, for the community out there, they feel that a statue must be made and praised. And actually, if you compare to PU, polyurethane, it's also resin, but it's a higher grade resin that will, because the resin material, the property is softer, so it does not break so easily when you drop it, and so on. And the price is 2.5 times, 3 times more than resin, right? But for a lot of people out there, they may feel the APU is like 1,000.
I think it's also, one of the things that people need to understand is that to make anything out of PVC or PU, you need steel. You need to mill steel molds and dye, and it's expensive.
Yes.
So once you have the steel mold, you can use that as many times as you like. So with that in mind, if you have an addition size of 500, the cost is divided over 500. If you then have the PVC twice, that's divided over 20,000, about 10,000.
Yes. So a typical cast iron mold for PVC toys can range up to $100,000. So just a mold, right? So imagine if you were to produce 300 pieces, the mold cost will kill you. Right? How much should I sell my statue at? Right? So then when they start to sell high, people will complain about, hey, why are you selling that high? And also, just at least the connectors should understand. Also for producer, it's not just about pricing, statues. There's so many things behind the scene that you might not understand or might not know, right? That is causing the material we use and the price point.
What is also when you have metal, and so if you have any kind of weaponry, and you make that metal, what's that?
CNC, yeah, or you hit whether you cast it or you lave it at the CNC, they're all individual costs attached to it, right? And we, of course, we have to talk about material. We shall come to the issues of slanting, where the statue start to slant, the statue crack, So there is no way that we can produce big pieces of statue with 100% solid resin, because you're not going to live. You're not be able to live it because it's so heavy, and there must be some, I would say, space and air in between, so that it does not crank.
Yeah.
Right. So in the olden days, when people break the statues, they see that the statue is hollow, they get very angry. I would say that, why are you cheating us? We use this is with quite egg skin.
Picture.
Yeah, eggshell, right? Eggshell. So it's a process of production, right? So of course, we can put in something called a PU form to inside the hollowness of the statue, so that you'll feel the statues, then you'll not crack and break. But not all parts you can use the PU form.
Yeah.
Only bigger parts, with bigger space, you can use that. And the cost of PU form is also very expensive.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of technical process behind the scene of producing the statues that is very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously the next one, which was one of your favorite, the cool resin.
Oh. So you know that we use clear resin for our jean grey, the first Phoenix, right? And through the process, we start to learn that clear resin, if you're using a lower grade clear resin, even a high grade clear resin, after times, the color will change. You start to get yellow, and you start to crack over time. Yeah. Depending on where you stay. If you're staying in a country where the temperature changes is very high, 3-5 years, 7 years down the road, you will see the clear resin start to crack. It will be whether inside or outside. And clear resin itself, not all statue is suitable, I would say, to use clear resin. It depends on how you want the statue to look like. Right? To me, or to XM, where we try not to use so much clear resin because it looks a little bit enemy. Right? If I'm doing the enemy statues, maybe I'll use texture, but not on the current line of license that hashed.
Yeah, because I mean, also we're going to go on to QC afterwards, but the QC side of clear resin as well, there's like callable waste. So the cost is like...
Yes, so you can't control the color, how the clear resin will be cast out, because most of the clear resin in the market is that you need to mix color in it, right? So that when you cast out, if it's blue, it's bluish. So there's no way you can control the pigment during the casting process. And there's usually a lot of effects. It can be up to as high as 25 to 30% effects, depending on the producer.
I've 30. On my notes, I have 3%.
Yeah, from what is actually is 35-30%. It's quite high. But I say depending on the producer. Some they feel that a little bit is fine. Some, for example, if we cannot produce based on what we want, we will usually take it as a defect and then produce another pieces.
Sure. And then we move on slightly more then to like opaque resin. Is that fine?
Opaque resin is easier, it's stronger because you start to add material in it. So the chemical itself, when it harden up, is stronger. Right? And it doesn't give you that too enemy feel. Right? So usually we use quite a lot of opaque than totally full clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opaque has a nice look.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also, so the last couple of things as well is not the statue itself, but you do spend a lot of money on the fund for the box as well, which is to why I got annoyed about some of the prototypes recently, because, yeah, that doesn't reflect XM very well. But the boxes you do use are very, very high quality, but to get to that, you would just spend it.
So usually, the box, or we call it the polyform mold, will only be done when all the parts are confirmed, all the engineering are done. That means you're ready for pre-production, right? Then you will make the polyform mold, and then get the fight form mold out ready for shipment and so on. But for prototype, usually we need to get it out for review and so on. Even at that stage, usually the polyform is not done yet. So we'll just use a hand cut form or whatever to pack it and then ship it out to the reviewer. It may last one shipment, because depending on how the frac handle it. But if you were to ship it to multiple reviewer, by the time you go to the second or third, thing will start to break.
I just got one more time. I'm biting my tongue here.
Yeah, thing will start to break and so on. So it's tough. It's not that easy to ship out prototypes.
And then one of the elements that you don't use that is actually taken, I mean, actually, it's been around the hobby since before I started, because cinema cats used to use silicone, and now silicone's kind of being used again by other brands. So when XM ever use silicone?
I doubt that we will go into silicone. So there are few reasons. So silicone exists since in the 90s and so on. Some other brands.
Well, at least like 2005, 2006, civil kits were putting out, and we saw and so.
Yeah, so the problem about silicone is, okay, when we cast our resin parts, we use silicone to do it, to have the mold, and then we cast it. So silicone, typically, a normal grade silicone will last you 6 months to 9 months before it start to tear, before it start to degrade, before it start to sack. We talk about mold. So if you were to use silicone to produce connector bursts, anything that we're not sure of how long this piece will last, we try not to use. Because imagine connectors spending thousands of dollars by an XM product, and 5-6 years down the road, the materials start to have issues. And to me, it's a loss of investment to the connectors.
Yep.
Unless there is data proven that this material will last for the next 20-30 years.
There are claims that it will last the next 20 years.
Right.
So the problem I see is that I don't know about it, but I'm just going by logic as such as that silicon over time, you paint over the silicon. The silicon will secrete oils.
Yes.
So this oil is some way where the silicon is drying out, if you will secrete oil. So you dab this with a soft cloth and you take the oil off. But then you've also got the issue of, it's drying out, but also got the issue of when this oil comes out, it's going to affect paint. So for me, I'm very
So in the 90s, silicone is also quite widely used in collectibles, and I can see the progress of the use of silicone, and some of the brand actually stop it because it's hard to own. And yes, you can say that if you use a higher grade, better grade, I'm using grade silicone, it will stay longer. But how long can it stay? That's not something that we know. And even the material producer, they can tell you, right, our material can last 20 years, 30 years. I think resin can last 100 years.
People have got bone statues from the 90s hair still.
My first forward statue is that. So I think resin can last 100 years.
When are you going to work with bone then? That's a question as well.
Yeah.
That'd be late. I'd love to see bone back. I really would.